Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all having a great day today because today we're going to be covering Borderlands 4. Now, I was going to cover this a few weeks ago when the initial drama broke out with Randy Pitchford, but I put off doing so. I can't remember why. I think I just had more pressing topics to talk about, but we're going ahead and we're covering it today because, some more development has happened with this drama, and I genuinely think this game is cooked. There's no way this game succeeds after everything that has went down with the game. So we're going to be going through two articles in today's video outlining the drama, and I will be giving my thoughts. And this obviously has to do with Randy Pitchford saying if you're a real fan of Borderlands 4, you will pay $80 for the game, you will find a way to make it happen, basically. So let's go ahead and get into the first article. Randy Pitchford sparks outrage after claiming real fans will figure out how to pay $80 for Borderlands 4. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford angered players with his response to fans who are worried that Borderlands 4 might cost $80. And this article comes from the greatest gaming journalism outlet on planet Earth, Vice. And yes, we are talking about the same Vice that has made just great articles like this one you see up on the screen right now. But in all honesty, all things considered, this article really wasn't too bad. It's much better than the other offerings of articles that Vice has. So let's go ahead and get into it. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford set off a firestorm online after responding to fan concerns about Borderlands 4 potentially being priced at $80. The developer sparked outrage when he suggested that real fans would be able to make it happen if the looter shooter ends up launching with a higher price tag. Alright, I know this doesn't really matter and it's a complete nitpick, but I hate when people use language like, oh, you gotta make it happen. Like, dude, you're not a fucking baseball coach. That's besides the point. We all knew when Mario Kart World was announced to be $80 that other publishers would join suit and raise their prices of their games, and I found it hilarious that people actually tried to argue that it's just one game, dude. It's only Mario Kart World that's gonna be $80. Yeah, look where we are now. We got Mario Kart World at $80, we got Microsoft raising their price to $80 on some games, which, let's be honest, 95% of them aren't gonna be worth it. Hell, I'd argue most aren't even worth $50. And now we got goddamn Borderlands at $80. Let me remind you that most people consider the last really great Borderlands game to be Borderlands 2, which launched over a decade ago on the Xbox 360 and PS3. And I don't even think that game is worth $80, even if it were to come out today with modern graphics. Don't get me wrong, it's a great game, but not $80 great. You know, take this from someone with 233.3 hours in this game on Steam, and probably an equal amount on the PlayStation. I kinda know what I'm talking about, I kinda have experience with this game. And I know from my experience with the Borderlands franchise how important DLC is in Borderlands games. The main game of Borderlands 2 actually plays very differently depending on whether or not you bought the DLC, because if you bought the DLC you can go farm those headhunter packs and get a lot of OP loot early on, whereas if you don't have the DLC, you can't. So not only do you have an $80 game, but if you want to play through the game the most effective way possible, you gotta buy DLC packs on top of that. Randy Pitchford thinks real fans can make it happen if Borderlands 4 ends up costing $80, and you can see they attach a conversation below. Old Gold Sot here says, Randy, this game better not be $80, don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't gonna pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO, you have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. Now, how did Randy reply to this very reasonable complaint? Well, he said it wasn't his call and everyone moved on about their day. I'm completely kidding, by the way. But Randy replies to the fan saying, A, not my call, B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991, when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Yeah, back when you could buy a house for a bag of fucking jelly beans and 3 pesos. The economy in 1991 and the economy today are completely different. People are more poor now than they've ever been. So $80 for an entertainment product is a lot harder to justify in today's day and age than it was back in 1991. Obviously, I can only speak for the country that I live in, but 85% of people are basically broke as shit. And the large majority of people where I live can't even consider the idea of either moving out of their parents' house or not living with roommates. And you expect me to pay $80 for a video game. Companies want to charge these crazy prices for video games in these sort of economies, and then they want to sit here and wonder and scratch their heads like monkeys when all of a sudden piracy is on the rise in certain areas. It doesn't make any sense. You almost wonder if they're in touch with the average person or not, or if they just have no clue what's going on around the world. On May 13th, Randy Pitchford engaged in an interesting back and forth with a fan on Twitter. During the exchange, the fan pleaded with the CEO not to price Borderlands 4 at $80. The user argued it would contribute to the trend of other companies raising prices. However, Pitchford's response rubbed many the wrong way when he said that a real fan of the Borderlands franchise would find a way to make it happen. I mean, who would have guessed that that would have gotten a negative reaction? I thought people would have been very positive about this great response. Jokes aside, if you're gonna say something like this, I'd rather you just come out and tell me straight up stop being poor. Because we all know that's what you meant to say. So the article puts the tweet that I've already read out there in quotes, so we're gonna skip over that. Although Pitchford claims that the pricing of Borderlands 4 is not up to him, this didn't stop players from lashing out at him. Angry fans were particularly upset with the CEO for using the "back in my day" argument. As many users pointed out, while inflation has increased, wages for many have not. It's true that games technically cost more in the past when adjusted for inflation. However, overall worker wages have not kept pace with rising prices. Although Pitchford's response was originally made on May 13th, the Borderlands 4 tweet went viral a week later after players rediscovered it. Alright, there's quite a bit I want to add on to what was said here. First of all, you're right, it wasn't really Randy's call whether or not this game is $80, at least if we can take his word for what he's saying, right? But it was his call to make that stupid tone-deaf comment about quote-unquote making it happen. He did not have to add that in there, he chose to add that in there. He could have simply left it at, "not my call. I don't set the price, I have no control over how much this game costs." Nobody would have had an issue with that. So I really dislike the way you word it, as if he's just reporting that he's not responsible for the price, and then people are lashing out at him for that. They're not. They're lashing out over the tone-deaf comment he made after the fact. You also don't bring up the fact that despite the fact that the price of video games hasn't really gone up that much over the years, the amount of money that these companies have been making has gone up a lot because a lot more people are into video games nowadays and games sell a lot more copies. So that makes up for the fact that they're not increasing the price, basically proving that the price increase is pure greed. The Switch was one of the best-selling Nintendo consoles of all time. They did not need to do a price increase on the Switch 2 when it comes to the games. Borderlands fans are furious over CEO's $80 response. Bro, can you fuck off, Randy? Real fan? The fuck? I played Borderlands since its release in 2009. Every game I've played since that release. It's clear gamers are on my side and agree with my take. You are the fucking CEO, Randy. You have a say. You just don't wanna fucking admit it. The original user who first started the conversation with Randy Pitchford responded to his reply on May 20th. The angry Borderlands fan launched into a tirade filled with expletives and accused the CEO of avoiding responsibility if the game ends up costing $80. And then he quotes the tweet that I just read out. Now, I would like to say this. I do believe that Randy has some say in the matter on how much this game costs, but I'm not going to sit here and say for certain whether or not he does. Because at the end of the day, I don't work for this company, so I don't know who gets the final say when it comes to the price of the game. However, the idea of the CEO of Gearbox not getting a final say in the price of a Gearbox game does sound like BS to me. The Borderlands 4 fan was not alone in his anger, as Pitchford's response sparked a whole wave of outrage online. Dog, we are not paying $80 for a Borderlands game, fully knowing you'll do multiple season passes that cost another $100. You'll probably sell weapon skins too, one user wrote on Twitter. Another exclaimed, if your intention was to inspire people to buy this game with that weak comment you just made, I regret to inform you that the opposite effect will now happen. I'm out. One comment simply vented, that has to be one of the worst CEO replies from recent memory. You know, even if this whole situation is not what we would have hoped was going to happen with Borderlands 4, I am glad that the whole gaming community is coming together to really just tell this guy that, yeah, we're not cool with this. Like, I'm really not seeing anybody bootlick for Randy Pitchford, and they're really just shitting on this game. It's very nice to see the gaming community finally come together and agree on something, even if something like this has to happen in order for that to occur. You can see the article puts a bunch of tweets on the screen. Now, I've already read out some of these, so it's pointless to go over them, but, like, I never thought I'd be agreeing with Synth Potato, of all people. In all fairness to Randy Pitchford, he once again stated that he has nothing to do with pricing, and this isn't the first time players have been angry over games costing more. In April, Nintendo announced that Mario Kart World would be priced at $80. During the Nintendo Direct, the livestream was flooded with fans demanding that they lower the price. So, it's clear that many players are not thrilled about paying more than $70 for games. Once again, I know I've already brought this up in the video, but I'm gonna bring it up again to really emphasize it. I do not like how you word this as poor Randy Pitchford being attacked by fans, because yes, he may not have had full control over the price. At the end of the day, he might have wanted to put it at $70, but not have been able to. However, he still made that incredibly cringy comment about real fans paying $80, which was incredibly tone-deaf, and he used the stupid back in my day shit. Now, this happened about 2 weeks ago, so what went down after this? Well, he sort of apologized for what he said, but it was one of the worst apologies I have ever seen, so let's go over the second article where they talk about that. But before we do that, we're gonna need to go over a tweet that somebody made where they put his speech into ChatGPT to make it sound like something Handsome Jack, the villain of Borderlands 2, would say. Trust me, this is going to be important for when we actually go over the article. Someone put the Real Fans tweet into a Handsome Jack AI. Oh, boo-hoo, $80 for Borderlands 4? Let me break out the world's tiniest violin. Crafted from iridium and oiled with the tears of whiny vault hunters. Listen, Cupcake, you're not buying a game. You're investing into a premium, galaxy-shattering experience, personally engineered to blast your sad little dopamine receptors into orbit. You think quality loot and chaotic mayhem just code itself? You want guns that sprout legs, sing sea shanties, and explode into loot goblins without paying top dollar? Grow up. Back in my day, I built an entire moon base with my own 2 hands and a metric ton of disposable Hyperion interns, and you're crying about spending a few bucks more to virtually murder skags with style? Please. But hey, if $80 is too steep, there's always a solution. Just don't buy it. More legendary drops for the rest of us, and fewer mouth-breathing freeloaders clogging up my loot pools. Win-win. Stay broke, hero. Handsome Jack, President of the Galaxy, CEO of Hyperion, and your personal nightmare. Now, for anyone who's played Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, that is pretty accurate, man. Anyway, on to the article. Borderlands 4's Randy Pitchford sorta kinda apologizes over $80 real fan comment. Nobody likes being taken for granted, and it was not my intent. Randy Pitchford has kind of gotten frank over his very controversial comments on Borderlands 4's pending price tag. Gearbox software boss Randy Pitchford has been in the news for all the wrong reasons again. after claiming that a real fan would buy Borderlands 4 even if it did ask for $80, it's not really the promotion the looter shooter could use 4 months before launch, especially since everyone from a Baldur's Gate 3 developer to fans across the internet slammed his tone-deaf remark. So, Pitchford has now slightly softened his position in the most Randy Pitchford way possible, by reacting to an AI-generated Handsome Jack version of the same real fan quote. So yeah, if you were wondering why I went ahead and read out that quote before we jumped into this article, there's your reason. Boy howdy, Jack GPT, is that how I sound? The executive magician tweeted. In seriousness though, nobody likes being taken for granted, and it was not my intent. I'm humbled by the love and support everyone has shown the team as we push hard to get this amazing game in your hands. They're crushing it, and I can't wait for everyone to play what's going to be the best Borderlands ever. Regardless of where the price lands, it's going to be worth it and then some. Back to work for me. Now, the article does go on to leave some more info and stuff there, but I'm not going to go over it because that's all I really wanted to point out is his response here because I want to respond to it. He somewhat admits that he said something wrong and he pissed a lot of people off, which is good. What is not good is the fact that he still thinks the game is worth $80. Bro, there are very few video games worth $80. My favorite game of all time, Doom Eternal, I don't even think is worth $80. I wish he just came out and said, you know what, I'm sorry, I fucked up, I shouldn't have said what I said, and as an apology, we're gonna price the game at $60, or you know what, we were gonna put it at $80, but we'll make it the basic $70. All he really said is, yeah, you know, I shouldn't have said that, however, we're still gonna price the game at $80 and it's gonna be worth it. You're still going ahead and pushing this standard of $80 to being closer to a reality in this industry. You're willing to fuck tons of people over by making the $80 standard closer to a reality, because all these companies are watching everyone up their price to $80, and it's making them more and more comfortable to do so. And overall, this was a pathetic response. The only way this could have been worse is if you said, I don't apologize, real fans will pay $80, lol. Obviously, he's still getting roasted for this, and things aren't really looking any better for Borderlands 4, and I think this game is going to do very poorly because of these statements. Even if he couldn't control the price of the game, he should have at least said, I understand what you guys are saying, but I don't control the price of the game, and I don't think it should be $80. Anyway, that is pretty much all I have to say. I think this game is going to do very poorly because of this. Maybe I'll be wrong, but who knows. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, and I'm out.